Hey there, everybody. Welcome to yet another Big 12 Pick'em video. This is going to be for Week 8, the actual Week 8. And again, I do apologize for my little screw up with last week's video. I erroneously said Week 8 when it was in fact Week 7. I actually have the folks at CBS Sports to thank for that, as I was using information based off the CBS Sports app that I tend to use. And, of course, what do you expect from a network that prefers the SEC? That being said, we'll go ahead and we'll get right into it. First of all, we'll go back to last week, Week 7. If you watched the video, you might recall that I threw out my picks for the 5 games involving Big 12 schools. First of which being the Texas game versus Oklahoma, the Red River rivalry. In that game, I did in fact pick Oklahoma to beat my beloved Longhorns, and OU was in fact victorious in that game by a score of 31-26. So did get that one correct. West Virginia and Texas Tech. I went with West Virginia in that particular ball game. West Virginia did come out on top 37-34. And what was not any question otherwise was most definitely the Big 12 game of the week. Number 9 TCU at number 5 Baylor. An unbelievable ball game. An NCAA record for most combined points scored in a ball game. I believe it was something to the effect of 119 points came out in this ball game. I picked Baylor to win the ball game, and they did just that. It had an unbelievable come-from-behind victory, 61-58 in that game. Yeah, you heard me right, 61-58. Iowa State hosted Toledo in the only game to feature non-conference play with a Big 12 team. I actually did pick Toledo. They were having, at that point, and still are, a much better season than Iowa State, but Iowa State ever gritty at home at Jack Trice Stadium. They came out on top 37-30. This would be the only game I actually picked incorrectly last week. So the other one being Oklahoma State at Kansas. I went with Oklahoma State, and surprisingly only a 7-point game. The Cowboys defeating the Jayhawks 27-20. So a 4-1 week for me last week, and I will throw that information in the video description below. That being said, we'll move right along to Week 8, and definitely not short on good matchups this week. All 10 Big 12 teams in action this week, all in conference play. Number 4, Baylor, will be going to Morgantown at West Virginia at 11 a.m. Fox Sports 1, that game can be found on. I'm going to go with the number 4 ranked Baylor Bears. Right now, the odds-on favorite to win the Big 12, but there's still a lot of football left to go as we've basically reached the halfway point of the regular season in college football. So going with Baylor on that one. And what some will think is, and I'm going to go out and say this is probably going to be the Big 12 game of the week, and there's probably 2 of them you could go back and forth and say could be. This one, number 14, Kansas State at number 11, Oklahoma. This game in Norman, Oklahoma, an 11 a.m. kickoff scheduled to be on ESPN. I've been back and forth on this one. To me, a very tough one to predict. Reason being is recent Oklahoma pass defense will tell you that the Sooners are giving up a lot in the air, which would be an area of concern against a team like the Kansas State Wildcats, who have had tremendous seasons from their wide receivers, Curry Sexton and Tyler Lockett. And, of course, if this Oklahoma Sooner secondary continues to play like they do, it could be a big day for those 2 young men as well as K-State quarterback Jake Waters. However, Oklahoma being Oklahoma, and being that this game is at Gaylord Family Stadium in Norman, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Sooners to win this ball game by a touchdown or less, no less, is what I'm going to do. Reason being is I think the Sooners might have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. There's a handful of Sooner players still left over from the 2012 team that was upset by K-State. Some may call it an upset, some may not, but at any rate, the Wildcats, the last trip to Norman, came out victorious. This time, though, I'm going to go with Oklahoma to win that ball game. Kansas at Texas Tech, 2:30 p.m. On Fox Sports Net. I'm going to go with Texas Tech to win this game. Honestly, a game that could go either way. Neither team has won a conference game, both 0-3 in Big 12 play at this point. Tech probably a little bit better offensively right now. Specifically, if that quarterback Davis Webb can get healthy, shouldn't be much of a problem for the Red Raiders to win this ball game. Another game that you could argue could be a Big 12 game of the week, number 15, Oklahoma State, traveling to Fort Worth to play number 12, TCU at 3 p.m., Fox Sports 1. Back and forth on this one. Oklahoma State, however, seems to be struggling a bit of late. Only a 7-point win over KU this past week. So, that being said, going with the Horned Frogs, a team that's obviously can score points. And they're looking to crack back into the top 10. So going to go with the number 12 TCU Horned Frogs to beat Oklahoma State. Finally, Iowa State traveling to Austin, Texas to meet my Texas Longhorns at 7 p.m. That game available on the Longhorn Network, which is available on Cox Cable here in Salina. That game, another one of those games, two teams looking for their first conference victory, unfortunately. Both 0-3 in the conference, unfortunately. I'm going to give the nod to my Longhorns. They seem to always find a way to get past Iowa State. Probably shouldn't have last year. But going to go with Texas to win that game. So Baylor over West Virginia, Oklahoma over K-State, Texas Tech over KU, TCU over Oklahoma State, and Texas over Iowa State are my picks for this week. Of course, we have 5 teams still ranked in the Big 12 right now. Baylor jumped a spot from 5 to 4 with their victory over TCU this past week. And, of course, as a result of that, TCU slips 3 spots from 9 to 12. Oklahoma unchanged. They remain at number 11 after the 5-point victory over Texas. Oklahoma State jumps a spot from 16 to 15, and Kansas State in a bye week manages to jump 3 spots. So take a week off and gain 3 spots. And of course, that's largely because of the amount of upsets we've had over the last week or so. Outside of the Big 12, there are a couple other games to probably keep your eyes on as far as playoff implications. I kind of like saying playoff implications with college football. I kind of like this idea. In a game featuring 2 teams that I don't like. Number 21, Texas A&M visiting number 7, Alabama. Number 5, Notre Dame at number 2, Florida State, which is without question the college football game of the week. I'm looking actually to do a little pick outside of the Big 12. Number 5, Notre Dame. Upset alert over the number 2, Florida State Seminoles, who fell from the number 1 spot without losing this last week. Mississippi State, now the new number 1 in the country. I think Florida State's playoff chances are going to take a pretty big shot this week. They're struggling offensively right now. Number 23, Stanford also visits 17, Arizona State, another matchup featuring ranked opponents this particular week of college football. All other ranked teams in action, I do believe, are playing unranked teams. Correct me if I'm wrong. Looks to be that way. Although sometimes rankings don't mean much in college football. So, that being said, that's all I pretty much have for my Big 12 Pick'em for Week 8. Please, by all means, subscribe to my channel, as I'm going to keep videos coming on not only sports themes, but other things as the weeks go by. I promise. I know I keep saying I'm not going to just do sports videos, but for some odd reason, that's what I find myself doing. So stay with me, subscribe to my channel. Feel free to comment below, not only on the YouTube page, but also on the Facebook post that is going along with this. Below in the description, you'll also find how to find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Avid social media user am I. I'll also throw up a link to my blog, which, of course, these videos are also placed up on my blog page, which is on my WordPress.com account. So that's how you can find and enjoy my ramblings online. And, of course, I thank you for watching this video. Many more to come. Have a great week, and we shall see you later. Welcome, Horns.